In this video, I'll show you the newest features we have added for the Figaf IRT tool that allow you to make change management for SAP PI PO fully integrated with CTS+. So one of the big things about governance is that you want to require all developers to document what they've done and create links between what they've done and a request that the business user have, like a service request. This is normally a really manual procedure that requires a lot of effort, and it's not really fun both for those that are doing QA and those that are creating this governance. We also spend a lot of time on creating documentation, and this documentation is probably never read that much. But it is required in the process to be able to document what we have done, and most of the time this is anyway out of date, and that is what I want to achieve with this new addition. So we have created a new addition to the Figaf IRT application, and this is that we allow you to actually handle transports. So our main object is a ticket, and a ticket can be linked with a service request, a Jira, Solman incident. Some business user have asked you to do something, or there's an alert that has been triggered, and you want to fix this for some reason. What we want to capture in this is all the objects that's being changed when they're imported on your QA and productive system. We want to change all the tests that you have done and your transport history, and if there's any links to these things, we want to also achieve this. So what this looks like in our application is we have this part here, we call it tickets, and here we'll create a new ticket, so we'll call the service request 4. So this is an FI fix 2. We are still in the progress of this, and this is a service request. What you can then do from Solman, you can link to this one so you know what is going on in it. Here we have our tracked object, our test cases, and alerting, and our transport. And now I have created a transport. So I've created a transport that's called here EDL. So I'll take this one. I will release it. So we'll release it so we can do an import later. So what I do is I will then select my landscape. This is my PI landscape. This is CTS. So we will import this, and what it will then do is it will go onto your development system, find all objects involved in this ticket, add them to this change request. So we are now actually able to pull in all the ticket information into this one. So we can see it's now done. We can see that it is this ticket. It has all of these things, and we haven't checked for import yet on QA. So if we go back to our ticket, we can then see that it have added all of these different objects. So one of the components is this communication channel, and we obviously want to configure this once it's imported on our productive system, or QA system in this case. So we will select our landscape. We will select the communication channel here. And then we can see what is configured here, what are the configurable parameters we have on this, and we can see we got this file posting, and the system would then assume, hey, we're using this setting. So what we can then do is we can go and edit this. So now we've added a DPO as this. It will also handle passwords. You can enter the passwords values in this one. So now we will save this, and that means that once we will import, it should then configure these things with the import. So let me first release this and import it with our normal Solman transport manager. So what we can see is that this transport have now been imported on our QA system, and what we want to do is we want to let the IRT application do all of the necessary configuration. So we'll go back to our ticket, we'll find our transport we have on this one, So we have this transport. We will select import, and obviously this can be done at some point in time as a batch job that run every half an hour that will then trigger all of this configuration. But for now it's something manual that you just want to configure and set up. So what we have done now, it's actually gone in and done our changes to this. So if we open our scenario and we had this communication channel number 4, and we can see here it has added this specific configuration that we wanted for this channel, for this scenario. So it's really easy to set up, and that also means that no developer needs access to your productive system because they can configure all of these parameters in here. So now we can see it's been run successfully, and we can go back to our back to our ticket. We can see all the trapped objects that have been added here. So if we see on our DPO system, so we can search for DPO. So this is our productive QA system in this case. We can create scenario documentation. And what this will do is it will then create a documentation specifically for this scenario. And here you can see that all of these changes have been made to the scenario. You get information about channels, and you can see actually all the things what was changed in this one. We also have so now we have tested, we obviously want to test these things. So what we can do is we can look up test cases for these things. So we got some test cases here. We want to add those. So now we have added test cases for this, and we can then go and check it out. So here we have our test case. We can run them on our QA system. For this specific test case, we can see how well this is performing. It will then send the same messages through, and we will then get a result at some point in time that says, so we can view our results. So this is compared successfully. And with that, we have actually proven that this ticket has been tested okay, and everything looks as we expect it to do. So now we can obviously transport to production using the same approach. And all we then need to do is just to create a report, and we can then download this report and put it into Solman, Jira, whatever you have that says, yeah, this is the scenario you had, this is all the objects, they were changed here. These are the tests that you have run, so you have not run tests on DPO, but obviously we have because we have mapped them to that. And you can see all the different transport when they have been imported on the QA system, what are the objects, and you can then go directly to these objects with these links. So this really makes it simple to do transport. So let me see if we got everything going here. So you can create transport as you have normally. So it's a normal process. You just have a different layer on top that does the documentation, that does all the channel configuration. So you can configure all the different channels in your landscape from just the IRT instead of creating manual documents that describe how these things need to be configured in productive environments. You would then click on the CTS Import that will then show and perform these steps, update the configuration, update the channels, activate channels, update documentation, and at a later point it will also run the test on your QA system, so you're actually able to do a full cycle of these things. And then obviously we are using the Figaf IRT testing tool, and it's really a simple tool to use. You can create test cases from your productive system with just a few clicks. It's able to solve a lot more patterns, modules, bridges compared to the SAP standard one. It has the option to anonymize data, so you can test with even sensitive HR data, and you can generate reports of all the things that have been changed, so you can see what was changed in this landscape. And then this is the same testing application that we are using both for PI and CPI, making it just one way that you need to document your changes. So obviously, what you want to know is you want to keep knowledge in your organization, both when developers as internal and external leaves. And a lot of time this is a challenge to fix something once someone have left, because so why did they add these things? With the IRT tool, you're able to run the test, validate that it works, and also be able to see why, when something was changed and for what reason. Short term, you'll be able to deploy faster, perform upgrades faster, because obviously you have full test case of all your scenarios. You can deploy new changes faster, saving a lot of time for developers, but also business consultant, because they don't have to perform the same kind of regression testing that they are normally used to. And then there's just one way to manage your PI, CPI, and API management application. Longer term, you would get fewer errors with your integration. It will be a better documentation of all the changes that you have made. You would be able to fix interfaces even when developers leave, and the time for resolving problems from the support will be easier because you have test cases, and it's even able to determine what are the different alerts that you have, so you'd get a more stable environment and are able to innovate faster. So go try it out on your own system. Go to figaf.com/IRT and download it and see how it works in your system.